Hello, I'm Luca De Giglio, and this is the Web3 in Travel podcast, where you can learn about crypto, blockchain, and how the new internet will change travel. In this episode, I want to focus a little bit on a specific kind of NFTs. And these are NFTs without a JPEG in a way. So trying to get a bit away from what is actually a stereotype. Like NFTs are JPEGs. And no, NFTs are not JPEGs. NFTs are tokens, and they have some characteristics. One of them is that you can attach to them a JPEG or a PNG or whatever, so an image. But the image itself is not the NFT. The NFT is a certificate, right? We talked about this in the past. So there's one kind of NFT we have been playing a bit in the last months, and this is the NFT with SVG. Now, SVG is a way to represent images or text. It's like PNG or JPEG, but instead of hosting the image on an external place like the IPFS or a normal server, you are using text to describe the image inside the smart contract. And I understand if this doesn't make sense to you, but it really is important because it's a way to display some content in the NFT without any third-party dependencies. So let's analyze your typical JPEG NFT once again. You have this token. This token has a very important field, which is called token URI, which basically means this token says, oh, that's the picture I am representing, right? It's like a book saying, this is the cover of the book. Where is it? Well, it could be on a server or on a distributed system like IPFS. So let's focus on this. Why are we even talking about IPFS? And before that, let's refresh our memory. What is IPFS? IPFS is a place where you can put your images. And after you put a specific image, you can't change it, which is really important for an NFT. Because if I sell you an NFT with an artwork, right? And then you get this certificate of this artwork and the image of the artwork can be changed, well, I could kind of rug pull you, right? That's one of these terms which we use in crypto. Like I can basically steal the very image I took from you. So I put it on IPFS, which means that image, once I put it there, I can't change it. It's shared amongst thousands of computers, a bit like torrent, right? So you have this very unsafe NFTs where the image is hosted on a server. Then you have safer NFTs where the image is hosted on IPFS. And then we go even farther by having the image in the smart contract. Now, let's also refresh this concept. Why don't we put images on Ethereum or on any blockchain we're using? Well, because that would be crazy. Why crazy? Because that would be crazy expensive. And why is it expensive? Because every single node of the Ethereum chain should host your image forever. So it's replicated on thousands of computers for the next 100 years. It doesn't make any sense. This has to be expensive. Otherwise, running a node, which is already in hundreds of gigabytes, would be terabytes, and it would be only for, 5 big companies in the world. So that's why storage on Ethereum is really expensive because it needs to stay decentralized. And again, I know I'm repeating myself, but these are very important concepts. To be decentralized, we need to make it easy for as many people as possible. And it's already very hard today. Like today, running a Bitcoin node where you earn Bitcoins is basically impossible unless you are a company. And the same goes for Ethereum. That's why Ethereum is passing through proof of stake. Completely different subject if this is a good idea or not. But images or text and any kind of content on the Ethereum blockchain is really, really expensive because of the centralization needs. Now, just to give you an idea of how much it costs to keep data on Ethereum, I quickly checked online and I found some article from a few years ago. And a few years ago, they were talking about $76,000 for 1 gigabyte. That was years ago. It could be hundreds of thousands or maybe even millions of dollars today with the price of Ethereum. Storing a JPEG on Ethereum, that's something you don't want to do. That's why you host it through the token URI link. You say, okay, this NFT, look at the image over there. And over there is cheap. If it's your server, it's basically free. If it's IPFS, it's also free, even if a bit slower. But then you get into this conundrum. Like, if you want to have control on the image, you want to be able to update it, for instance, and you host it in your server. Yes, you can update it, but people using the NFT have to trust that you're going to update it in the way in the way you say. So if a big company, I don't know, Google launches NFTs and they say, don't worry, we're going to host them, and this image we give you is going to change every year according to some parameters, you are trusting the brand. On the other hand, if some smaller company or project tells you, well, you don't know us, so we put them on IPFS, well, they can't change. Because IPFS images cannot be changed. So it greatly reduces the use cases of NFTs, because I can have dynamic NFTs if I'm Google, or I cannot have them if I'm small. Well, we haven't really scratched the surface of the use cases for NFTs, especially in travel. So is there any other way to represent images and or text on NFTs? Yes, there are. One, as I was saying, we've been playing a bit lately, is SVG. And by playing with them, I realized how powerful they can be. And maybe they're going to be used in the travel industry extensively in the future, because they give you both the security that the image or the content of the NFT cannot be changed in a wrong way, in a way. It can only be changed in the way I say, because it's written in the smart contract. So you don't have to trust me. You have to trust the smart contract. The smart contract is simple, simply code which is executed and I cannot change. So it removes the trust assumption. And on the other way, it allows to create some kind of images and texts which are even pretty advanced in some way. You cannot do a great design like on a JPEG or a PNG, but you can insert content. And in travel, we are not going to sell or use NFTs because they have artistic value most of the times, right? Yeah, you can buy a ticket on a train, and the value of this NFT is not the picture they put on this ticket, it's the fact that you can sit on the train and go from one place to the other, right? So let me tell you what SVG is, but before that, it's just one way we found to represent images on NFTs without having to rely on third parties. There could be more in the future. There may be more today. I don't know everything. So it's a great example. And I hope that by listening to this, you start thinking about new ways we can do things in travel with NFTs, and leave behind the stereotype that NFTs are images of monkeys and stuff like this. So let's start from the Wikipedia description. SVG, Scalable Vector Graphics, is an XML-based vector image format for defining two-dimensional graphics, having support for interactivity and animation. The SVG specification is an open standard developed by the Worldwide Web Consortium, the W3C, in 1999. So it is not a new technology, but it comes back because it has this property of being an open standard, okay? And because it's text-based. So both open standards and text-based systems go well with blockchains in a way, because they allow decentralization and they are not proprietary systems, right? So one characteristic is that it is scalable, meaning that I can make an SVG which is very small, and you can zoom it and you can scale it to much, much bigger, and it won't lose any quality. That's not really important, in my opinion, for NFTs, but who knows? Maybe somebody will find ways to or find this important in their use case. So an SVG could be a logo, or it could be some text, or yeah, it's basically images and text. Now, the interesting thing about that is that I can put in the smart contract a few lines of code which say build this specific logo, or write this specific text on this NFT with this background color, etc., etc. Even animations are possible. Because they are in the smart contract, the users, people who buy the NFTs or use the NFTs, they know what this image, how this image look like, and if there are any ways to change it. And the fact that there are ways to change it are great, because it really opens a lot of possibilities. Let me talk about, yeah, maybe that's the best thing. I'm going to talk about the SVG tickets we made for the Web3 in Travel conference we are going to have in Porto on the 14th of September. And by playing with this concept, we came up with a couple of interesting use cases for NFTs. So the ticket to access the conference can be bought as an NFT. You can buy it with a credit card, and that will be a normal ticket. But we did also the NFT version. And it's really cool because, first of all, you can mint it. So you go on the web3intravel.com website, you go on minting, and you mint the NFT. By minting the NFT, you buy, you create it, of course, and then you pay the price. And this price is growing every time somebody buys. So we put them on a bonding curve. The faster, the earlier you buy, the cheaper it is, and then it goes up. First thing, we were able to kind of have dynamic pricing here. And the image and the text on the NFT, so how the NFT looks like, is basically text with a small logo of trips. All the rest is text. And in this text, you will see the title, Web3 in Travel Summit, a description, the number of the ticket. So it's growing every time you have a ticket, it goes up. Where it is, when it is, what time, how much was paid for this specific minting in XDAI, which is this stable coin on the Gnosis chain. It also shows the address which minted it. It tells you if it's an airdrop or standard ticket, where if you pay a bit more, you get the airdrop ticket, and you're going to be airdropped on this NFT address, or on the owner of the NFT on the date of the airdrop. You're going to be airdrop tokens from companies participating in the conference, the sponsor, and I'm going to tell you more about that later. And at the end, there's the web3intravel.com by Trips community in partnership with VRWS, which is the Vacation Rental World Summit conference the day after. So let's see this ticket. Try to visualize this. Blue NFT. So that's the Trips blue. We have a specific kind of blue in our website, in our logo, and some white text with a logo of Trips in the bottom. This image, or this text plus image, is completely created on chain. All the information, the website you're looking, maybe you're looking it on a marketplace. We are using epor.io, Eporio. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's a marketplace for NFTs on the Gnosis chain, previous XDAI chain. So this website, this web page, interprets the code of the SVG and displays it correctly. There's no other way they can display it. All this text is fixed, but we can change a few things. We say we may want to change the location of the conference, because you never know, maybe you need to change location. So we can do that. We can change your NFT. But this is not something we could do behind your back. This is something which is clearly stated in the most credible place in the world, which is not, a contract or an open contract. It's not a declaration somewhere. It's in the smart contract. The smart contract says that the owner of the smart contract can change the location of the conference. All right. So if we change it, we are not cheating you, we're just changing it, and you knew that. Plus, you don't care. It's not a piece of art. It's a ticket. Another thing which we cannot change everything here. Some of these text cannot be changed. Like, we cannot change the price you paid. You paid 50 XDAI, that stays there forever. We can't change it. You paid for an airdrop, extra 20%. We can't change that, right? What we can change, and which is important here, is the sponsor. And that's actually even more advanced than what we can change, because you could change it too. Here's how the sponsor works. There's a space in this ticket which says sponsor. And today it says www.myibiza.estate or estate hyphen visit us exclamation point. So again, www, and then it ends with exclamation point. This text was not inserted by us. It was inserted by the sponsor. So somebody went to the page of the ticket and decided not to buy a ticket, but become a sponsor of the conference. Before that, I can't remember if it was empty or we wrote your text here. Before that, there was nothing, right? So this person came in, they paid 500 XDAI, which is $500, and they bought the privilege to display the text of their company on the NFT. So when they did that, they interacted with the smart contract. It's a smart contract, so we couldn't do anything about this. So they did it. They paid the money, which went to us, and they basically advertised on the NFT. Interesting fact, the tickets which were already minted, they already had a text, they were overwritten. So every NFT ticket which was already minted got updated with this sponsor. And then every subsequent ticket which was minted got this sponsor. And this is something clearly written in the rules. Now, what's the other rule which makes it even more interesting is that somebody could come today and paying 20% more, so $600, and that's also in the smart contract, they can replace this first sponsor. So let's say that somebody comes with, I don't know, Porto Hotels or a hotel in Porto, right? Let's say Porto Hotel comes in, pays $600, again, not to our bank account, not to me. They have to interact with the smart contract. They pay 600 XDAI, and every single NFT of this conference will now show the Porto Hotel text. Maybe they write Porto Hotel text, 50% discount for attendees at the conference or whatever. My Ibiza Estate, the first sponsor, will get the money back immediately from the smart contract. I highlight these parts because we are not involved at all. We have no way to kind of stop this. Well, actually, no, we have ways to stop the smart contract. This is a contract we have control on, okay? So you still have to trust a little bit. But that's, just a way to make sure if something goes wrong, we can fix it. The ideal end state, because this is a beta, it's like an experiment, but the ideal end state of a system like this is that it's completely unstoppable, right? So what happens is that this hotel pays $600, they get the sponsor, and the previous one gets all the money back. So in this way, we are experimenting with basically a self-service sponsorship for conferences, which removes all the discussions you have to have with the conference, the negotiations. Then I'm going to send you my logo, you're going to send me the money, here's the invoice, etc., etc. It's just a self-service sponsorship system for the conference. Now, we are in travel. We're not even in conferences. And because this space is so early, I think we innovated a lot on the conference side. And I don't know any other conference, in even crypto conferences, who have done something like that. Now, you may say, well, it's nothing interesting, so that's why nobody did it. But I think this is actually very interesting. You launch a conference, you want the sponsors, you don't want to waste time with sponsors, and you want to make completely on-chain. There you go. You can get our code, which is open source, and do your own version. Or come to us, and we're going to do it for you for a fee. But the concept here is that there are ways today, because money is not dumb anymore, money is smart. So euros are dumb and XDAI are smart, to have really automatic systems for people to, in this case, sponsor and buy tickets for a conference. It's like we never actually had real automatic systems, or let me put it in a different way. On the web, we have a lot of automatic stuff, but when money is involved, because money is dumb, because it's centralized, we need to kind of either do it manually or do it through third parties who will make it this automatic, but it's not really something we can do by ourselves by using protocols. We have to use services. Now, what I just described you in this example of an SVG NFT, this is not a service we're doing for anybody. This is an open protocol. Take it, do what you want with it, do your next conference with it, right? And I think this is really powerful because, again, that's our first example. It's pretty basic. It does already stuff which is not basic. It's really advanced compared to anything else out there in the conference space. But the space for improvement is basically infinite here. You can come up with much better ideas and much better implementations of these NFT tickets on an SVG for anything. It doesn't have to be for conferences. It could be for tickets for travel. It could also be for bookings in a way. So when you make a booking with an NFT, the NFT itself is not an image with a picture of the hotel. It could actually contain this kind of text with all the explanations, all the details about the booking. So before we realized that we didn't have to use an image, your classic JPEG on an NFT, this wasn't even conceivable. Then we realized that, and this is opening a lot of possibilities. So SVG for NFTs means smart contract defined content for the NFT cover, basically. And I say cover because the NFT can also have properties which are not displayed on the picture in a way, right? When you go on OpenSea and there's a part which is called properties, like how many of these images have this characteristic. These don't go on the image. This is external text. But the SVG in this example, everything can be on the image itself. And I'm saying image because SVGs are images. But if you remember the loot and the traveler loot, they had almost no graphic aspect, so simply text. So now when I think about NFTs in the travel industry, I kind of dismiss images by default because images are very limited. Let me rephrase this again, right? So the image can be very nice, can be 3D, but it's completely useless most of the times. And then if you think about all the tickets or the stuff you use when you travel, the image is not that important. What's important is what's written on top of them, and they're not dynamic most of the times. So if we came up with this, which is a little revolution in the travel industry or in the conference industry, in the events industry, what can you come up with thinking deeply about NFTs with SVGs? I'm sure we're going to have many surprises in the next months and years because there's a lot of innovation which can come out of this simple concept, like NFTs are not images. Just that. Imagine when people are going to start playing with putting in the token URI some JSON, which is much more advanced than an SVG. Right now, the problem with the JSON again is that it has to be somewhere, and it's probably going to end up on IPFS. But IPFS is also pretty safe in a way. So I have no idea where this will bring us, but I'm sure it can bring us really far. And in a few years, interacting with travel will probably mean interacting with NFTs. And I don't think most of them will be with images, but it's going to be something much more advanced. One disadvantage is that you have to put in the smart contract more code than usual because the image cannot be outside the SVG text has to be in the smart contract. So if you deploy a smart contract like this on Ethereum, it's going to cost a lot of money. When we deploy the traveler loot, it costed us, I think, a couple of $1,000s. And that's, of course, a lot of money, but you don't have to use Ethereum. You can use a layer 2 or other blockchains. And in that case, it won't really matter if you spend 50 cents of a dollar or $1 or $2 to deploy the smart contract. So that's something you pay only once when you deploy the smart contract. It's not something you pay every single time an NFT is minted. So I don't think this is going to be a problem, unless for those who, But again, those who go on Ethereum, they have a reason for doing that, and maybe paying a few $1,000s is not going to be a problem. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't do that on Ethereum itself. It's also important to note that executing the contract, so basically displaying the image, doesn't cost any money. It costs to write on the blockchain, not to read on the blockchains, which is not actually true. But normally the reading is kind of paid by the dApps, but let's not go too deep into this concept. A famous NFT based on SVG is the Uniswap LP position on version 3. Maybe you've seen that. When you become a liquidity provider on Uniswap version 3, you are given an NFT, which represents, it's a certificate for your position, for the money you put there. And this NFT is dynamic, it's pretty beautiful, and it's completely done as an SVG. So check it out. See how powerful it can be, also in terms of quality of how nice the picture can be. And if you go online and you look for NFTs SVGs, you will find many examples. Another one which is picking up some steam lately is the Nouns project. You can check it on OpenSea, which has incredibly high prices. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars, even in the bear market. So whatever the price mean, I don't know, but it is just to prove to you that this is not like a niche thing. SVG NFTs are something which has been going on for a while. They definitely haven't been used too much or at all in the travel industry. So here you go. That's one other of these opportunities if you want to innovate in travel in Web3. And I hope with this episode to have given to you a direction. And let me know if you come up with good ideas or even ideas. Nobody knows if they're good until they really get adopted. So yeah, let's be creative. This part of the internet, these NFT SVGs, is definitely a very interesting area to look into it. All right. This is the end of today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. For more insights on Web3, follow me on Twitter at @tripluca, TRIPLUCA, and see you next time.